I just got a dog. And she's
Bring
like,
your dog in. Where's the dog?
and I was late because I like just let her out because she needed to pee one more time. And she that's housebroken, so you don't want to like miss the opportunity, you know?
Bring. We're now live on YouTube, and Daphne is just saying that she was a few minutes late because she's seeing to her new dog.
Yeah, I just got a new little rescue pup.
Is this part of isolation plan, or is this pre-isolation?
It was actually a pre-isolation meditation.
Who is it?
And but then it became really actually I kind of have a horror story if you want me to just dive in on that. It
Dive in,
became
and then I'm gonna start with an
great.
introduction.
Everybody wanted a quarantine dog, so it was like you couldn't really the rescue foundations were all, really inundated with requests and all that. So I was looking for a puppy and found this adorable little Dachshund puppy online and like, went through the whole application process, like applied for it, paid for it. Scam, scam, total fucking scam. Yeah, the whole thing. I
No.
bought all this stuff. I thought it was coming like a couple mornings later. So I like bought all this stuff, totally committed, like psychologically committed, like so excited. And then something like made me feel weird about the way they were talking. And then they started asking for more money. And I was like, oh my fucking God. And I didn't get my money back. Like, I feel like such a moron, but at the same time, what can you do, Like,
Yeah.
it's not my fault that I didn't know that existed. You know what I mean? Like,
Man, you know,
puppy scam, like for real? Had no idea. Like, motherfuckers.
oh my,
Sorry, I don't know if we can swear
Daphne,
on.
creative lights and no swearing.
Oh, sorry.
I'm joking. We are.
Why did you ask me on here then?
You've got to know Daphne, and I'm going to introduce you to Katie too. But I'm going to go back to the beginning and say,
Yeah, sorry.
welcome,
Sorry.
Creative Light. Not at all. We like beginning slightly differently, where we speak to leading women across the arts to explore how creativity has helped them positively and personally refocus or help others in times of change and challenge. And today we're back talking music. Uh, an area that is very dear to my heart. And we're joined by two brilliant female music professionals, both with their own stories of navigating the music industry. So you've already met Daphne. Um, Daphne's spark, as well as her incredible talent, pricked the ears of Sony ATV Music Publishing early in 2016, who quickly signed her to a worldwide publishing agreement. This partnership has resulted in several of her songs being recorded by other artists and used in commercials, film, TV productions, ad campaigns, you name it, for the likes of Clinique, Microsoft, One Tree Hill, The Good Doctor, to name but a few. Daphne is also a recovery advocate for those with substance use disorders, and the lyrics of her music set a reminder to others to offer more kindness and compassion for those suffering with addiction and mental health issues. Welcome, Daphne, over in LA. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
And we've also joined in New York by Katie Zaccardi. Katie is an artist and music industry professional through her work in both music and wellness, along with her own experience with anxiety disorder. Katie discovered the urgent need for conversation surrounding mental health and self-care within the music industry. Katie established Out to Be, which advocates a balanced path for personal and professional success that is grounded in wellness. The Out to Be podcast invites listeners to engage with an insightful dialogue on all things wellness and their relation to working in music. So thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Katie, it's really nice to meet you.
And you too.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Riva, thank you for doing this. I think it's like absolutely, way, first of all, way overdue for somebody to do something like this. And I guess I'm just grateful to be on and be a part of it. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely, definitely. I think we're going to talk about right now in the present situation. Obviously, we've heard about the new dog, Daphne, but how is isolation and the current climate treating you both? as artists?
It's been interesting. I mean, I'm in New York, so things are intense over here. Like, I live outside of the city in a suburb right outside of the city, but we have been in our house for like 6 weeks now. We're anticipating 2 more, but honestly, it's probably going to go beyond that. And I think that at this point, we've kind of settled in. Like, I know people who have been sick with the virus. I know people who have been in the hospital with the virus. And so my family, my friends, we've all been just sort of watching this happen and just hoping and praying for everyone around us. But obviously, I'm very involved with the online community, as pretty much everyone is, especially now. You have no choice but to be online. And I think that I'm seeing so many different ways that people are coping. Like, for so many people, there's not a huge effect. And I would say that I'm a part of that too, aside from knowing people who have gotten sick and having that, stress of that. Like, I already worked from home. I already had routines in place that didn't change too much, aside from not being able to like go out and do yoga, go out with friends, go out to the grocery store whenever I felt like it without having to take extra precautions. Not too much changed for me. I didn't necessarily get time back. And I feel like that's another lens that people see it of like, oh my gosh, you have so much time to like get stuff done now in the music industry. You can do all these extra things that you wanted to do. So I'd say that's like the second lens. And then the last is that some people's lives changed very drastically, and now they're home with kids and they're homeschooling kids, or they lost their jobs and they're trying to figure out how to make ends meet during this time. So I've seen a lot of people and a lot of coaches and businesses and just, people who are influencers almost come out and kind of say like, now that you have all this time, or now that things have changed in this way, here's what you can do. And I really just see that not everyone's in the same boat here. There's a lot of different ways this is affecting people. And we have to be mindful of all that. And I'm trying to definitely be mindful and support everyone in their individual circumstance.
What it is, we'll come on to you, Daphne, as well, in your experience, but definitely a resetting, a sense of resetting and a pause for reflection in our lives. How has it affected you, Daphne? Songwriting, just day to day. Again, I've heard fellow songwriters saying, they're feeling more creative than ever. And it hasn't affected them too drastically, given that they do work from home and they determine their own schedule themselves. So, yeah, has life changed much?
Well, I think, and to go off of what you said, Katie, like I totally agree. It's so different for everybody. And like, not only do we all have different like routines, jobs, hobbies and things like that, but it's also like where we place the priorities, in our lives. Are they, some people really prioritize their social time and their outings. Some people really prioritize their alone time. Some people really prioritize whatever their hobby is or their work. So it's like everybody's literally, I think, trying to, and our society had kind of created like these ways to identify and categorize ourselves within the system that was. And now there's this new system, and everybody's trying to figure out where they fit in, both in terms of how they prioritize their time now with, different, and like what is more important to them. And if they do prioritize social things and that's what they're really lacking, then trying to cope and find ways to like fill that void for themselves. For me, like it's the same, I worked from home a lot. I did a lot of co-writing, I was co-writing a lot. But I co-write a lot now, it's just on Zoom. So I'm co-writing. Ironically, I had just spent like a pretty penny on a bunch of studio gear. So I'm just producing and learning. I'm doing a lot of tutorials, producing out tracks and continuing on as business as usual with that. I do a lot of keynote speaking events and had several events booked, which are all canceled. And my speakers bureau is now closed that booked me for those, which is crazy. So I had a 5-week bus tour that I was going on with Sean Colvin this spring, and like that's canned, but we moved it to next year. And it sounds like, Katie, you're the same as me. Like you have a lot of plates spinning and you have a lot of balls in the air, which is, you know, really lucky. So basically I feel lucky as hell. And I can also feel like the energy and the sadness in the world right now. So I'm just doing everything I can to like, you know, just stay in my gratitude
All
and
that.
just
Yeah.
like fucking stay in it, like, and hang on for dear life to that gratitude, you know?
Absolutely. Now, this is all about Creative Light, is about finding light from darkness. And obviously, this time is going to be one of darkness for many people. And like you say, whether it's fully dark or the darkness is touching you only slightly, we're finding our way out of this time. We're rerouting and acquiring new skills, like you say, you know, learning, you know, elements of production maybe that you didn't know. But going back, because I know that you've both been touched by an element of darkness in your life. Daphne, can you talk a little bit about that and how your experiences in the past, you know, suffering with mental health issues, have affected who you are today and your career?
For sure. And, you know, it's funny because I think if you've done any work on yourself, like seriously done some work, we're all sitting with ourselves right now, right? And some of us, like, maybe for the first time in a long time, maybe for the first time ever, you know, those of us with either like trauma or, you know, addiction or whatever mental health issues, that haven't done that or done any work like that, I think are up against a lot because, you know, if you don't have a community, it's harder to do that without an in-person like energy exchange and a community of like a group setting. But yeah, I mean, so I it was 4 years for me in March, of like no booze, no blow. So it's like really addicted to cocaine and alcohol for about 10 years, self-medicating for sexual assault in college that I just didn't talk about, which is like just kind of par for the course. Is, you know, unfortunately, a lot of women find themselves in that situation where they either don't feel they can talk, they don't feel they'll be believed, or it's just too painful and the body, you know, does what it has to do to survive. So, but, you know, like I said, it was, I think everybody has their own journey with that. And when I was ready, I took the steps and, you know, quit drinking and quit self medicating and numbing and you know, faced all that stuff. And it's like just layers, and you just keep peeling back layers, and the more you do it, the less terrifying and scary it is, until that it actually becomes less like recovery and more like discovery. And it's more almost like you just kind of land on these little aha moments and realizations as you go, um, and just accept. So I feel really, really lucky to have, you know, done this work and started it 4 years ago. And, you know, also being creative and being a writer, being able to write about things and sing about things. And it's just really, I just feel really lucky to have that as an outlet, you know?
Absolutely. And you'll talk a bit about Somebody's Someone, because that's something, a song that a lot of press online has picked up on. What what was the inspiration for that song?
Well, Somebody's Someone is a song that I wrote with a co-writer friend of mine named Jen Bostic, who's amazing. We
Ah,
both have
I,
brothers.
I met
You
Jen.
know her? She's
He came on an online songwriter circle that I was
okay. Okay.
yeah. Lovely, Jen. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I love Jen. She's the best. As soon as you said that, I was like, I need to call her. You know.
Say hi.
So someone we both have brothers who have struggled with addiction also. And my brother, unfortunately, his addiction led him to be homeless on and off for, you know, the better part of a decade. And he was also, you know, in and out of jail and in and out of hospitals with, you know, various addiction related illnesses and issues. So going through that as a family, as a human, I think it's a very strange, horrible, helpless feeling. And it's even worse. It's just watching somebody, you know, struggle with those things and literally just not being able to do anything. And often, I think people who see that or have to experience that with a family member really struggle to know what to say or how to reach out or how to start a conversation. You know, it can be really intimidating, or you feel like you're not qualified, you know, to say those things or to make those statements or reach out a hand. So the song is about um, basically just letting somebody know that they mean the world to you and that they are somebody no matter where they're at in their life, you know, because everybody can come back and recover. But that's what it's about. And then I put out this video um, on Facebook and it went viral. It's like 25 million views and same with YouTube. It's been doing really well, but more than anything, it's cool because we've done some cool fan videos with it where people have taken pictures of them and there's someone. And I thought we'd get like 200 photos, and we ended up getting like 2,000 photos. And I'm just gonna keep doing those because people, you know, it's really inspiring when you see the photos. I like get choked up every time.
And that's across your social platforms. People can check that out.
Mhm.
Yeah, and on YouTube.
Mhm.
Check it out. Amazing. And Katie, obviously you've also suffered with anxiety in your life. Tell us about your experiences there and how music's helps you through this and refocus. Is this before you became a wellness coach, or is
Yeah, it was before that's what kind of led me in a way to become a wellness and career coach for women in music. But like Daphne said, it's about like peeling back those layers. And the first layer is just awareness that something's going on and that you want to change it in the first place. So I was at college at NYU, and I started to really notice signs of anxiety. Like they were kind of there for a while, where I would get like way more stressed than normal and like feel like a sense of like doom and panic and crying or anger, which was a really big one for me that I don't think a lot of people necessarily associate with anxiety anyway. But I would get like super angry and super nervous about stuff and lash out at people and just like not have the control of my emotions that I really wanted to have. I was like, I don't consider myself a person who doesn't like confrontation. Like I can handle my own. I don't mind sharing my voice and sticking up for myself, but it literally got to the point where with my bandmates, when there was any sort of like altercation or like disagreement, I would just go into like a full state of panic because I just couldn't deal with it. Like I could not handle my emotions. I was so on overload that any little thing that I could normally handle and now like take a deep breath and like figure out, okay, how do I want to respond? It's okay. It's not a big deal. How can I approach this with love? That didn't exist. And so it got to a turning point where after like 2 years of this going on and me being like, what's happening? Is it low blood sugar? Am I having a panic attack? Am I just like a angry, mean person who like people don't like and doesn't like people? Like I didn't know. And then finally I had one instance where I basically had a panic attack, and I was like, I know that something is wrong here. And I texted my friend, like my one other friend who I knew was somewhat outspoken about having anxiety. And I was like, is this what a panic attack feels like? Like what's happening here? And we talked about it. And then eventually that panic attack lasted 3 days. Like my heart was pounding for 3 days. I ended up having a yearly physical exam scheduled a couple days later anyway. And so when I went to the doctor, I explained what happened. They were like, yeah, sounds like anxiety. And they directed me, they were like, maybe you could try cognitive behavioral therapy, but I wasn't really given a lot of resources or a lot of help. And so I was sort of just like given a diagnosis and sent on my way. And the diagnosis made a big difference because then I could start to realize what patterns were happening and what I was being triggered by and how I could cope with that. But it was a super long journey from there. So I ended up doing my yoga teacher training after I graduated from college because I noticed that yoga helped. And at the time I didn't have a job yet. So I was like, if I could be teaching yoga, I could be making a little extra cash right now. So let me go and do that. And that's when I was sort of like broken open almost and like into this world of personal development and healing. And again, with the layers, it's like first layer was like acknowledging that I wanted to do something. I tried yoga. I did my teacher training, which yeah, it taught me how to teach yoga, but it also like really, really forced me to go within and learn things about myself and decide how I wanted to show up in the world. And from there, it was just a continued journey. Like I deepened my own practices. I continued to learn more. I continued to surround myself with people who were who I wanted to be like or wanted to be with, as opposed to surrounding myself with like toxic people who maybe like triggered me or just were not good for my well-being, or were not taught, like, you know, who were people who loved drama or stuff like that when I was trying to actively distance myself from that kind of thing. And then eventually it just kind of went from there. I was working in music publishing and I was feeling really crappy every day. I had migraines, I had terrible allergies. The anxiety was still there, even though it was somewhat manageable. So I decided I know more about this and I know more how to help myself through this and help others through this than so many other people do in the industry. How can I share this message? Because I was like, I didn't have resources when I need it. How can I be a resource for other people? So that's when I started my coaching business and I started the Out to Be podcast, so that people could have a free resource as well as really, really intimate support to get through it and to be able to create a sustainable music career without feeling super stressed out and accepting that as just like, that's the reality, that's how it has to be, and without burning out. And then on my own journey, it doesn't stop, right? Like you're always continuing to grow and learn and develop. And I've really looked into functional medicine. Like I've changed my whole lifestyle, not only how I approach things and my mindset, but also, you know, what I'm doing with my body, what I'm putting into my body, how I'm nourishing it, supplements, like things that aggravate me as a whole person, not just like one aspect of it. So that's kind of carried into now how I teach and approach people and approach my clients and helping them to create that sustainable career.
I think that's fascinating. Also, something that I kind of pick up on from that is that you've gone from being an individual and exploring a sense of, I suppose, community. You've established your own community, you know, spreading your message and your word, and as a result, helping others. And that's something I want to move on to now. Community versus independence, and maybe this is one that should be directed at Daphne, because you know we're living in a world of the independent artist, the independent woman, but together with that it can be quite a lonely endeavor, I think, being a musician. How do you balance that? Do you feel that being an independent artist breeds isolation, or do you feel it empowers you as a woman?
I think it's a great question. And honestly, I'm not sure if I have lived enough to answer that yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's a little bit of both. Honestly, it's like everything else, it's a balance. And I found like, I think unfortunately for artists, it's so hard to like make ends meet. So you just kind of feel like you have to constantly like reach and grab at like any little fucking thing that comes your way, which will create, you know, the need for sacrifice. And you have to make massive, massive like life sacrifices. You know, I saw a video the other day about the sacrifices artists make, like when all the people or friends our own age are like getting married, buying a house, having a baby, getting a dog, you know, having a car, whatever. Like I've been really lucky in my career to like, you know, do well for myself, like financially. But most of that is because I made a lot of fucking social and personal sacrifices, both in my like romantic life and in my, you know, friends and all of that. And being nomadic and being, you know, really adaptable and able to pivot, and move around, and constantly travel. And, you know, I think that like at the same time, at the time, I didn't really feel like it because it's kind of what I wanted to do. I also will say this, you know, I'm an openly gay artist, and I also will say that as a gay woman, I think like because marriage and kids and stuff like that, it's not I mean, while those things are 100% like, you know, gay marriage is legal and there's plenty of ways for us to have kids, it is very different than the pressure put on a heterosexual woman to get married and have kids. So I think that there's also those differences. And like I said about like the whole quarantine thing with where you place your priorities and who you are like as a person, it's always going to dictate what you want out of your life. And the more you try things, like you said, Katie, with the yoga, like I have found so much, like I've found so much out about myself just by trying things and like trying yoga, trying like I do these fucking crazy ice baths and like and I'll try, you know, whatever. And I think
Ice baths.
what's that, ice baths?
You like,
I love them. It's honestly the only thing that worked for my PTSD. Like EMDR was like number 2 for that, and ice baths were number 1. You basically retrain your parasympathetic nervous system
wow.
and breathe through a fight or flight response, and you're completely conscious the whole time. And you do this breathing exercise that releases endorphins beforehand. So it's just kind of like a conditioning thing. And it's great for inflammation. So do it after you.
What I associate it with. But
It's all about inflammation, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know. Like you said, back to the whole like independent woman sacrifice, or you know, I think it's both. I think it's both, but I think like so I don't know. I make it honestly like my tour got canceled. All these keynote speeches are gone. I used to run all around this fucking world all the time, and I couldn't sit still. And this is the first time in maybe like 10 years that I've been in one place for more than 3 weeks.
Wow.
Like for real, for real.
I remember
And
telling me that you're
and I actually like I'm fine and I love it. And I just moved here in August, like officially, after going through like fucking shitty breakup and all that stuff, officially moved out here. And like, I don't know, for me, it's like, I think you can always change what you want. My definition of myself has changed. Like, I think your identity is going to change multiple times throughout your life. I'll always have my independence. Like, I'll always like to do things on my own, like my solo time. But maybe I don't want to be, you know, I can still be independent and stay in one place too.
Yeah, valid point. I'm going to move on to Katie. Because obviously you come across a lot of women in the music industry in your line of work. What's the main issues that women are facing in the music industry these days that you come across?
Well, interestingly enough, I do think that the question that you just posed is one of them, because I think that as women, there is this tendency to want to like prove ourselves and go above and beyond, and we feel like we have to work 10 times harder than men, honestly, to be able to like get where we want to go. I'm just gonna put it blankly. I'm not even suggesting of what the reality might be, but I just think that there is a belief and like a core way that women go is like, I have to keep going. I cannot stop. Otherwise, either this other person is going to get it before me, or they're going to think I'm slacking off, or whatever it might be. And as independent artists, there's that extra layer of like, I also have to do it all myself because I'm independent. Then you add the layer of scarcity on top of it, which is it's really hard to make money in the music industry, which means that not only do I have to do it myself, but I couldn't even think about outsourcing it because I don't have the money to pay. I don't have the money to pay people. I'm putting that in air quotes purposely because it might not even be true. Sometimes it's just a belief. And then you have like the perfect pile of disaster area, and like it's just like a big pile of stress. Yeah, it's just like a big stress ball. And you're like, I have no money. I have to do everything and I have to do everything all the time and I can't stop. And I don't know how we got here because it's just, it's a million reasons why we got here. But the truth is that I am very passionate about shifting that reality because if we keep going like that, the only thing that comes from it is eventual burnout. Like if you do not at some point recognize that that is not sustainable, you're gonna burn out and you're gonna be taken out of the game. And all of those fears that you were so afraid of, and that's why you were working endlessly, those are gonna come true because you didn't stop, because you didn't take care of yourself. So those are the biggest things. And I think, again, like there's a lot of power. Everything I do is to empower my clients so that they can make decisions that feel good to them and that they can take on gigs that feel good to them and that they can know that they are able to make money from music and they don't have to live in a place of scarcity. But with that goes like not being afraid to invest, not being afraid to get support, not being afraid to outsource when it best serves you, because that's how you're going to get further faster. Like I think that there's a lot of pride attached to figuring everything out yourself. And that's how a lot of people who invented things or coaches got where they are because they learned the whole system by themselves. But if somebody already did it, you don't have to like reinvent the wheel. You don't have to go years and years struggling when you could just get support and save yourself the time and the energy and the money and get further faster. And so I think that yes, we want to be independent. Like we want to be really aligned with ourselves and make powerful decisions and know what we want at our core and know what our priorities are. But the community and the support is a huge aspect of that, because if you're just going at it alone, then you're going to be more susceptible to like questioning everything, to letting that fear come in, to thinking that you're all alone in this or like you're the only one who's going through what you're going through. And none of that is true.
Mhm.
I don't know if I answered your question, but I think I did.
That in terms of outsourcing, I will absolutely like agree with you on that. I have a like a great team that I work with. I have a content like person on retainer and I have a digital marketing team on retainer. And I have a personal assistant who does like just random like stuff that I just don't have time to do.
Yeah.
And those three things you would think like, oh, that's probably like so much money. No, it's really not that much. And you know what? Because of how much faster I get stuff done, how much more output I'm able to do because I'm allowing like you have to conserve your brain power. Like and
Yes.
also don't do things all the time that just stress you the fuck out, you know? Like you
Yes.
said, like I don't have time to learn about like everything about the pixel on Facebook
Exactly.
or the ad spend. Like I get it. I get it. Like I don't want to spend 50 hours like becoming an expert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the experts are already out there. Just help them. And I think that for some people, even you saying that, they might be like, well, I can't get those people. Just start by like joining a course or getting a coach who can help you get things sorted out and figure out where you even could or it would serve you to like outsource. But like it's a slow process, right? Like you hire people on step by step, level by level as you keep growing, and you don't have to do it all at once. And I love what you said too about like having people on retainer. It's not like you're necessarily paying these guys a full-time salary, but there's so many people who are freelancing and you can pay them as you need to pay them, get support either for specific projects or just specific time periods to make it work for you. Like there are so many options out there, and you don't, independent artist doesn't mean that you have to do literally everything yourself.
I think women have a hard, I think there's a lot of stigma too around being needy as a woman, and delegating can sometimes make you feel needy. It makes me feel needy. Like, oh, I need you to do this for me. I need this. I need that. So when you're a woman, like, you know, we're like it's like separating your emotional identity from your business identity, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
very, very different.
Yeah. It's also a major challenge, or at least I found it, surrounding yourself with the right team. And I was going to ask you, Daphne, do you feel supported? And you answered my question before. It sounds like you have you've found exactly the right team for you and the right blend that allows you to be creative and feel supported. You need these people that you can lean on and who you trust. And for me, it's taken a really long time. And that was the point that I felt my loneliest. I didn't realize it, but when I was working with the wrong people, it's like being in the worst relationship in like, you know, that you do need therapy for, because you can't get out of this thing. And it means so much as well, you know, when somebody is not doing their job and you're putting your every waking hour into, you know, which we do as musicians, into our...
And when it's art, it's like, you know, it's very different than like other, I feel like other freelance mediums, like if you were a carpenter and you had a digital marketing team, or I don't know, I just feel like more service, you know, more artistic, creative teams like that. When it's kind of like emotional like that, it's hard to separate those things. But I mean, if I can work with anybody and remove like my own personal, it takes a lot of work to do. It's taken me a long time to figure that out, but to not take things personally, like it's really not ever personal, you know. Art, unfortunately, art is a business just like anything else. If you want it to be, it doesn't have to be. I could write songs and they could never see the light of day, you know. But if I can remove myself from it and have the conversations as a business person, then I can get them out there in a different way.
Absolutely. And I think you are the ultimate like independent artist, Daphne. I think you completely own it. And imagine signing your life away to a major label. It's the right option for a lot of people. But I think you'd lose, and I have been there, you lose a lot of your independence. So I think finding the right blend, the right team is, for me personally, exactly the way that I feel the most fulfilled when you know, you end up achieving exactly your goals. You know, there's the greatest sense of fulfillment in that way. Katie, because I know Daphne's got a session to get to after this. That's right. I think, is it a session? Days worth of sessions. So we are going to wrap up quite soon. But Katie, I wanted to just talk to you about your community that you've set up. I've lost the name of it.
Out to be. Well, it's, yeah, so my community essentially exists on Instagram, but I have a podcast called the Out to Be podcast, which is all about mental health, wellness, and mindset in the music industry. So I'm speaking with artists who have gone through any sort of mental health journey or wellness journey, written music about it, they want to share it, but I'm also doing solo episodes and teaching on there. I'm also interviewing other music industry professionals or like mental health and wellness professionals, just to create a place where people can go and learn about not the doing. Like every other podcast is like, here's what you need to do. And I think that has a time and a place, but especially now there's a lot of pressure on artists to like be doing so much and be creating so much and using this time like wisely. And sometimes we need to just step back and breathe and actually ask ourselves, what do I need right now? And how do I need to work with my emotions right now? And look at it from a different aspect. So yeah, there are tips for things you can do on my podcast, but it's focused really on this different lens of mental health and wellness and mindset work. I'm on Instagram at Katie Zaccardi. So that's where I'm like hanging out and talking to people. I used to have a Facebook group, but I shut it down because I feel like there's just so many Facebook groups out there. So
I had one and it started, honestly, it felt like a liability after a while.
That's me too. I was like, I don't enjoy this. So, you know, if you guys want a Facebook group, let me know. Maybe I'll think about putting it back up. But instead of that, I just have a few different programs that people can work with me. And one of those programs is a membership where you are in a community. So that's how I prefer to do it now, because I know that each month we have a theme. I'm really, really focused in on what we're talking about, what we're teaching on, and I can really get to know every single person in that membership community and what their business looks like, their music business, because like Daphne was kind of alluding to, you as a musician, like that's a business, you are a business. And again, we is a place for other artists to support each other and see that they're not alone, that other people are going through this. So many times we get on calls or trainings and one person says something and I say, who else is feeling this way? And everyone's like, me. So it's so important for me to create that community. So I have a course called From Stress to Success, which is where I get people started if they're really new to this personal development, time management, goal setting, mindset world. Like if they've never done any of that before, that's where I recommend they get started. And then I have the membership, which is kind of the next step. And I also have one-on-one coaching for people who really want like super intimate support. And that's really for artists who are full-time or almost full-time in their career, so that we can grow it there. But yeah, that's essentially like how people can work with me, but more so how people can really get in this community and be supported by other artists as well.
Fantastic. So do check that out. And Daphne, what's next for you?
Well, I mean, I'll be around. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
We're staying put.
I am staying put. What's next? I just put out a single called Feels Like Home, and it's actually doing really, really well on Spotify. And I'm really excited about that. And it's on an EP called Awake Now that I'm putting out May 15th. It comes out, the EP. So I'm focusing on that. I think we were gonna roll into another single, but Feels Like Home is doing really well. So we made a really cool, my content person and I figured out a fun way to make really fun music videos. So I took photos of like my entire body, and then she made me into like a paper doll and animated the entire video. So the whole
That's so
thing is
cool.
animated video of me doing all this stuff. And she's absolutely brilliant. Her name's Whitney Oddie. And I'll watch it and then I see something else because she's just packed so much cool stuff in there. So I'm doing that and kind of just writing. And that's it. Working on music. Got the dog.
Dog.
You want to see her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
I want a dog.
Chihuahua pit bull mix.
Oh, what a cutie.
She is just a little nugget.
Oh,
Goodness.
we are going to we're going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it with a few quick fire questions for you both. We'll start with Daphne on each of these. I am most creative when I feel the light or I feel the dark.
Ooh. I am most creative when I feel the light.
Katie?
Me too. Yeah, 100% light.
I can tap into the dark when I feel the light.
We need it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
When I feel the dark, I feel really afraid. And I think it hinders me, you know?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Next question. If I were not an artist or a music industry professional, I would be?
If I were not a music or music industry professional,
Oh my gosh.
I would be a dog industry professional.
I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like panicking. I'm like, what would I do? I don't know. Maybe like a yoga instructor, because that's the other thing that I have done in the past. That I don't know. We'll go with that.
Great to not want to do anything else really. And you know, Daphne, you can possibly be a dog industry instructor as well.
I would be
Well,
a dog trainer. I'd own like a dog business.
oh God, yeah.
Like,
I'll
done.
help
I
you.
love animals like so much. So if I could work with animals, I think I'd be really happy.
I think, yeah, I feel the same. I stay creative for who or what?
I stay creative for myself and for people who don't feel like they have a voice or don't feel like they are represented in the media.
Yeah, my answer is similar. First is myself. Second is other women in music who need support and need a community.
Fantastic. Guys, it's been great chatting to you. Thank you everybody for watching, whether you're watching now or in future. Look forward to seeing you again for our next episode. And you can stay tuned in the meantime at www.thiswomansheart.co.uk and on our Instagram page at thiswomansheart_. Guys, see you again soon. If I was better with Zoom, I'd continue the conversation afterwards, but we'll continue it offline.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.